Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am working on making that savory bread that I was telling you guys about, the stuff that I make out of the protein booster. So what you first need is the essential Arbonne protein booster. This is a non-flavor protein. This is what the inside looks like. And again, it has no flavor to it, so I've got a bunch of savory ingredients to spice it up. What you do is you start out with a nice mixing bowl and you add 6 scoops of this protein. So it comes with a nice scooper on the inside, and each scoop is 10 grams of protein. So 1, 2, I'm just leveling it off on the side of the jar. That's 3, 4, 5, and here is number 6. And before I get too ahead of myself, I'm going to turn on my oven over here. You want to preheat your oven to 350. So I'm turning it on to 350. I'm done using my Arbonne protein booster. Again, 6 scoops. The scooper that comes in the container is perfect for putting that in there. So what I've done is I've put in 60 grams of protein. And the way that I split up the bread when I eat it is I split it into 4 servings, so I get 15 grams of protein per serving. And I use that as a substitute rather than having a protein with one of my meals. And then you want to add all your dry ingredients together, and I'm mixing it already because I want to make sure that there's no clumps. So I'm just continuously mixing my powder here. What I am going to do is I'm going to get my baking soda and a teaspoon, and I'm going to take 1 teaspoon of baking soda and add that in. I'm done with my teaspoon. Again, you're going to keep mixing it so that it's really nice and blended. You want to make sure that all the powder ingredients, all the dry ingredients really blend well together so that you're not getting like clumps of baking soda in your flavoring or a clump of protein. So mix and mix and mix. I'm gonna get out of my fridge 3 eggs. I like to do farm fresh local eggs. So these ones are local. I got them here at a local grocery store in San Francisco, and they are actually from Petaluma, which is closer to my hometown. It's actually my home county. So they did have to travel a bit to get here, but for me this is like a double local, so go for it, right? Double or nothing. So I have 3 eggs again. So there's 3 eggs to my 6 cups of protein powder, my 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and then from there everything is kind of like to your liking. So I have some rosemary right here. It was fresh from outside and I've been drying it for about a week, and all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna turn the camera here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just gonna crumble it up so that it's in smaller bits and pieces. Just kind of break it up in my hand. I would say it's about 1/2 teaspoon of rosemary, and then I do a similar thing with the thyme, but I'm just shaking the thyme out of the container, and I do about 1/2 of a teaspoon. That's about there. I really like thyme. Thyme's one of my favorite spices. So is sage. This sage is actually pretty moist, so it's kind of hard to get out of my container, but I do my best tapping it on the side. It kind of like, it's really fresh, so it still kind of clumps together. I think I'm gonna get a different, don't tell them, but I'm probably gonna get a different brand the next time I purchase sage, just because this isn't the way that I use it typically. I like it a bit more dry. So it's just become a challenge to get it out of the container. But it is one of my favorite spices, especially adding it into this bread. It's nice and savory. So there we go. That's gonna have to be enough sage. So now that I've gotten those ingredients into my bowl. You can see all the nice spices in there. I'm again going to blend and blend and blend, make sure that it's nice and worked around. But this is something where, like, you can even add more spice at the end, you can add spice on the top. Spice doesn't exactly have to be blended well, but it is going to flavor your protein because your protein has no flavor. So now it's nice and mixed. I'm going to create kind of a little hole at the bottom of my protein, kind of work the protein around the sides of the bowl. And I'm going to add in a 1/4 cup of olive oil. So 1/4 cup of olive oil right into the center of my bowl. Then I'm going to add those 3 eggs. How are you guys doing out there? I hope this recipe works for you. Also, if you follow me on TikTok, I'm going to put up a TikTok of the stages of the process of putting this together. So if you watch this video and then you forget, you can always watch the TikTok and it'll give you like a quick overview. I've got a nice picture of all the ingredients that you need. And again, you can always watch the video again. Like and subscribe so you can follow my other videos. And there we go. That's all 3 eggs into the mix. The only other wet ingredient that we need is 1 cup of water. So here we go, 1 cup of water into the mix. And then I'm just gonna blend that all up. Get in all the dry ingredients, and you're just gonna keep working this batter until it doesn't have a lump left. Don't want a big lump of protein, like a dry lump of protein. I don't know if you've ever done that with like your cakes. Sometimes that can be kind of yummy in like a brownie mix. You get a little pop of like brownie mix while you're eating a gooey brownie, and then there's like this chunk of dry spot. That can actually be somewhat delicious, but in this bread, I don't recommend it. I think it's best if you make sure that you get all the lumps out, work all the ingredients in together. It's nearly blended. And then I'm going to cut up some olives. We want to put some olives into the mix. That'll also help with giving it more flavor. You don't have to put in olives. That is my ingredient of choice. And there's other things, like you could put in garlic, you could put in some roasted garlic, you could put in some onions, you could caramelize them first if you want. There's a lot of different savory things that you could put into the mix. I actually have some pesto sauce in my refrigerator that I was looking at earlier, like, maybe a basil pesto sauce would be a really good addition to this bread. But I realized I like it the way that it is. I like the pesto sauce. So if I want to, I'll actually just spread it on top of the bread and kind of make that into the dressing or the condiment that I put onto it. Okay, so my batter is nice and blended. And now I'm going to get out my cutting board here because I need to cut up my olives. So what I did is I took these olives out of the can and I strained them and then I rinsed them because I don't want there to be an extra amount of that fluid. That'll change the texture of the bread. It'll create a looseness when you really want the olive to be tight in there. So just go ahead and liberally rinse and then let them dry out. That is my best advice for the olives. You don't have to use these kinds of olives either. You can use any kind. I think that olives are very tasty, so these aren't even my favorite. These are just what I have on hand. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slice them. I want to cut them up so that they're in size like about 1/3 of what they are, just so that it's a nice chunk inside of the bread without being overly large. Like when it's the whole olive, it can be a bit much in every bite. So I've got my knife here, and like I said, I'm just gonna cut them into thirds or quarters. And then what I'll do is, since I already have my bread batter mixed up really well, what I'm gonna have to do is get out a spatula, and I'm actually going to blend them in like kind of the way you would if you were making cookies or blueberry muffins, where in the end, instead of like mixing it with your mixer, you want to slowly melt the ingredients together. You just kind of want to not even knead is like what you would do if it was a drier bread, but you just kind of want to like roll the ingredients in softly so that they're nice and blended without like bruising the olives at all. So I'm almost done here. Looks like I've got a lot. Got a lot of olive here. I would save it, but I don't know what else I would do with it. Maybe put some in a salad. But I am going to make this one with lots and lots of olive. Maybe I'll end up eating it in smaller portions than in quarters. Who knows? Because olives can actually have a lot of calories, good healthy calories. Olives are very good for you. So now I am going to get rid of my mixer here because I don't need it anymore. And I'm going to take my third to quartered olives and just put them into the batter here. There we go. And where is my spatula? Oh, there we go. So here we've got them in the bowl, and like I said, I'm just gonna kind of like scoop them around and get them nice and like muddled in with the batter. Make sure that there isn't just a clump of olive when I put it into the pan. But I'm not going to be too aggressive with it, just kind of scooping it around and distributing the olive into the batter. Here we go. So I've got my 9-inch pan here, and what I do before I put the batter into it is I make sure I get a nice coat of oil. And today I'm going to use my grapeseed oil. I'm just going to put a splash into this 9-inch pan and work it around in a circular motion. This is just to create a barrier so that the bread does not stick to the pan. So I'm going to use my hands to just work around that oil, make sure I get it all the way up on the high sides. That's the biggest part, not just getting it around on the base, but around on the sides, so that way when you put the batter into the pan, it doesn't stick to it anywhere. It makes it much easier when you're trying to get the bread out of the pan. Here we go. I'm just going to rinse off my hands so I'm not slipping and sliding with all that oil. And if you're into measuring all that part, I would say about a teaspoon will do, not quite a tablespoon. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take that 9-inch pan that I've oiled, and I'm just going to plop this batter into the pan. And by now my oven should be heated up to 350, which is what we need. And it's going to cook for about 30 minutes. So now that I've got all my batter into the pan, I'm just going to work it around and make it into an even dough. Like, you don't want to leave a huge mound in it. It'll not cook so evenly. So I'm just spreading it around so that it's distributed all the way around the pan, and I want to make sure that the middle isn't raised up too much, because I want to make sure that it'll cook evenly. Also, just like baking cakes, it will rise a little bit, and when you're putting things into the oven, like cake or bread, you're going to have that imprint of whatever it looks like before you get it in. So I like to work mine around until I'm satisfied with the look of the top of the bread, because that is going to be what you are stuck with. So now we've got all that in the pan and evenly distributed. I am going to take my sea salt and sprinkle the top. That's just personal preference, and I didn't put any extra salt into the mix. There's plenty of preservatives in the protein powder and the olives, so you don't need a ton of salt. I just like to salt the top. And I'm going to open up my oven here and put it in. I put it on the lowest rack. I have a very small oven, so that's gonna be one of those things where you need to like test out your oven and decide where it best cooks. But I put it on the lowest rack for 30 minutes in 350. So while that is doing its time in there, I am going to get out the finished product. So earlier I went ahead and I made the exact same recipe. The only difference is probably the olives. I thought that I used close to half, but there's definitely more olives in this one than there is in this one. But here's the finished product, and it looks and smells delicious. I can't wait to try it. I'm gonna go ahead and cut into it. And again, this only took 30 minutes at 350. Get out a plate. So like I was saying before, I think I'm gonna top it with some pesto sauce that I have in my refrigerator. This is some local pesto sauce that came from the grocery store. It's made fresh there. I am going to put some of that on top of my bread. Delicious. I did this the other day with the first bread that I made. I made a trial run before sharing it with you guys. It makes me a little bit more prideful so that I'm not just experimenting with my channel. But please comment down below if there's something else that you guys feel inspired, if you want me to try a different recipe. I'm really into trying out recipes with my Arbonne protein. I love the shakes, don't get me wrong, but I am interested in what else I can produce with the product. So let's come on over here. And we're gonna give this a try. So here it is, the finished product. We've got the Savory Arbonne protein bread, and I put some lovely pesto over the top. Let's give it a try. Those olives, the olives really make the bread. The last time I made it, I didn't put any olives in it, but I thought about it. I saw them in my cabinet and was like, that would be a really good addition to it. It's really good. So are all those spices in there. It's also more moist than the last one that I made. I like it. Well, please give this a try at home. Again, find it on my TikTok. You can follow the recipe. I would be happy to chat it up with you if you need to get this product. Check out my website link down below. Also contact me. There's always deals going on, special discounts for new customers especially. So let me know that you're interested in the product. I'd be happy to set it up for you. And enjoy your baking. and enjoy your eating. Thank you so much for checking in, you guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.